The purpose of human design, as Ra taught it, was for you to find your own inner authority, not necessarily related to your chart per se, but for you to learn how to make choices in the way that's right and aligned for yourself so that you could, through whatever series of choices you make, you could bring yourself back to living the life that is in alignment with the person you were born to be. That was the whole goal of human design. And I would say that it is easy for all of us who are deeply conditioned by systems. We're all deeply conditioned by systems. We've been raised in systems, right? We live in a government system. We live in an economic system. We've probably all been part of a school system. We've been part of healthcare systems. We're all products of systems. And systems make us think in systems. And one of the things that systems do, because systems are logical, they come out of what's called the logical circuitry in human design. Systems are terrified of the unknown. A system is basically, and this is true of the logical circuit, systems is all about noticing patterns that repeat consistently enough for you to be able to, in some way, shape, or form, predict the pattern and how it's going to unfold. That's why science is a system, right? We have the scientific methodology is a system. The purpose of science is to duplicate experiments repeatedly to guarantee that within a certain amount of mathematical certainty, you'll have a similar outcome. Logic is one way of knowing. It's not the only way of knowing. It's one of three ways of knowing that we see in the chart. Logic is about knowing patterns in order to be able to predict the future. There is another way of knowing that's called knowingness. And some of you may have this. The spleen has this to a certain degree. It's knowing something. And it's just knowing that you know, but not necessarily knowing how you know that you know. And it's a very important way of knowing if that's your way of knowing. And for those of you who are raised in systems, you've probably learned to discount your own knowingness because you can't prove how you know what you know. You just know it, right? The third way of knowing is by sensing. It's by feeling that something doesn't feel right. Something feels off. It doesn't, you're getting goosebumps when you walk into a certain space, or you're feeling grumpy in certain energy fields and you don't know why, right? And we also discount that. We're told, oh, why? Why? We want to know why. We're told, why do you feel this way? And if you can't explain why, basically you're told to discount how you feel about it. And for some of you, that is your way of knowing. And that's not invalid. Because we're so deeply entrained by systems and we're terrified, we're trained to be terrified of the unknown, right? And on top of that, most of us have an open head and ajna. And when you have an open head and ajna, because nothing sticks in there and nothing's certain, everything is, come in, come out, information, look at information from multiple angles. A lot of us are naturally inclined to be afraid of the unknown. So we have this huge collective conditioning around the unknown. And to compensate for that, we embrace the idea of labels, right? If I can give it a label, if I can define it, then it is this thing, right? Then I can be like, okay, that's this thing over here. It has a label and a name, or I'm a this thing over here and I have a label and a name. And then when we label things, right, we can feel like, okay, I got that figured out. I got the label. I find that in my journey with human design and watching human design emerge with the momentum that it has, and especially watching it emerge without Ra at the helm since he passed in 2011, that there's a tendency in some human design spaces to use human design as a labeling system. You're a this, and therefore because you're a this, you can't do this, or you're not supposed to do these things, or you're a this, and that's why you're always angry, or you're always bitter, or you're always frustrated. Here's how I like to teach it. And I'd like to really, I know we're going a little bit off chart here, but this is so important. And I really want you to hear this. You, contained within you, is everything that's possible in the cosmos. You are literally a hologram of infinite potential. So I'm going to say something religious, and it's not meant to, first of all, I'm not a religious expert. So if I say this, I'm really hoping I'm not insulting anybody's religious beliefs. I just think it's such a good way of saying this. I read somewhere at some point, it was a statement, and it said, it basically is something that goes like, all of God is within you, but you are not all of God, right? So there is something really important about recognizing that you are capable of probably more than you'll ever be able to realize or even imagine. Your brain is pretty finite, but your job in this lifetime is to basically take light, photons, and lately I've been studying tachyons, and some of you have been hearing me stumble over tachyons, but your job is to translate infinitely small, super fast quantum phenomenon into material form. That's what you're doing in this very second. As I'm talking to you and you're hearing this, your brain is translating photons, light, into neurotransmitters. You're literally in this very moment turning light into matter. That's what you do as a human being. You came here to create. I like to think of it like this. I love the metaphor of the diamond. But if you look at a diamond, a diamond, when it's well cut and it's well shaped and it doesn't have any inclusions, it sparkles, and it sparkles because it's in movement. If I hold it still like this, nothing's happening, right? It's pretty, but it doesn't sparkle. It sparkles because it's in movement. It's constantly refracting the light, reflecting the light. And that movement is you. You're a diamond in movement, constantly translating information on a quantum level, mixing it in with your own desires and your own conditioning to create in the third dimensional way. Your human design, well, first, I have two things to say. Can I go down this rabbit hole? Are we okay with this? Okay. All right. So two things. Number one, traditional human design is a healing tool. Traditional human design, in the way that it's taught and the way that it was channeled with Ra, it was a healing tool. Waiting, for example, is essential, and all types wait. Manifestors wait for that inner alignment. Generator types wait to respond. Projectors wait for the invitation. And of course, the reflector waits out the cycle of the moon. Waiting is not necessarily supposed to be the permanent thing that you do when you create. But human design has the doctrine, if you will, of waiting embedded in it, because what usually happens when we first encounter human design is we land on the shores of Human Design Island, exhausted, depleted. We've done all the things we shouldn't do. We've tried to be someone we're not. We've been living out everybody else's energy, all of our conditioning, all of our dramas. We've been reacting to the motifs in the story of our life over and over and over again. And we've crash landed on the shores of this island. And the human design goddess who lives there says, honey, oh my gosh, honey, you forgot who you are. Hey, time out. Hold up. Come here. Come lay on this nice warm beach. I'm going to feed you some pina coladas. And you're sit here and you're going to wait. And the reason why you're going to wait is because you need to remember who you are, because you forgot. And number two, you need to remember to hear all of God within you, so that when you go back in the world, you're so deeply surrendered to that cosmic plan that is the evolutionary force of the universe that is in you, that you know from your intuition and the way it feels inside of you and the cadence of the voice inside your head, you know from a deconditioned place what that sounds like. We have to wait because we've forgotten. We've gotten so out of touch with our own inner knowing and what we want and need, that we need that space of waiting to heal that disconnect between who we are and our wisdom and our ability to live it out in the world. You hang out with a 1 or a 2-year-old, which I have the privilege of doing every Friday when my grandsons come over. They don't have any problems listening to their desires, what they want, who they are. They don't have any qualms about saying, hey, Safta, can I have some cookies, right? They know the answer might not be yes. In fact, they know it probably isn't after the fifth or sixth time. It's usually no, right? But but they're not conditioned away from the cookies yet. And how many of us when we want a cookie, let ourselves have a cookie, right? We've been conditioned away from even those little tiny spaces of saying, "Hey, I'd really like a cookie," right? We're what does a cookie come loaded with? It comes with conditioning about weight and fat and eating sugar and but you can't just have a cookie. So we need that pause. It's like the most loving thing that the goddess of human design brings us. Here, have this pause and start dropping into your body and start feeling like, what does that feel like in my body? Oh, yeah, that doesn't feel good. I shouldn't do that. Right. That really basic connection piece, we lose it. So we need that back. I don't think that at a certain point, if you do the work, and that's more than just following strategy and design for 7 years, you also really work actively on deconditioning yourself. I don't think at a certain point you have to wait. You can at that point start responding to the voice in your head that says you should go do this, or that splenic response that says, oh, I should go over here. But oftentimes we just have lost our mooring in our own internal sense of what's right and wrong for ourselves, our own authentic identity, that we need human design as the training wheels, right? It's the training wheels that help us remember, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be fully supported and be able to go at the speed that feels right for me, or slow down and enjoy the flowers on the path along the way. But we forgot. I think that what I'm really trying to say is that there's no better than or worse than. I hear people talk about, well, I'm just a generator. Or they'll say, well, I'm a projector. Like it's a shameful thing. It's not, it's none of the above. You are who you are. And literally the entire cosmos is what it is because each and every one of us is in it, in the role that we play. No one is designed to be more powerful than anybody else, more wealthy than anybody else, more connected, more spiritual, more nothing than anybody else. All of God is within us. It's all available to us, but we're going to do it. We're going to shine it and reflect it in our own unique way. And our chart gives us a curriculum so that we're not totally unfocused because of all the infinite potentials we have available to us in this lifetime.